Hey everybody, it's Eric Field with New Patient Group. Hope you're well today. Just was going to take a minute to give you a bit of an explanation and an introduction into the Invisalign growth program specifically for orthodontists. There's a lot that's going to take place within these modules, and I'm confident you're going to find it's a great resource to help build Invisalign organically into your practice. And I say that because there's so many ways that you could create an Invisalign presence with external marketing. But until you do things from an internal standpoint and have your team living and breathing the idea that Invisalign is not just a legitimate option, but is a tremendous option to build your business around, the external approach is going to have less impact than it would when your team is fully on board as well. So that's the idea of this training program, is to give you a little bit of some ideas and some concepts and just kind of walk you through the chapters in here that you're going to be able to spend some time building again that platform and that foundation for Invisalign growth. To start with, I want to take you through an idea called the diffusion of innovation to give you an idea of where clear aligners are currently in the orthodontic landscape. So what you see here is a bell curve that represents the law of diffusion of innovation. And this is a very well-known kind of a development or a process that as a new product or a new idea or a new concept comes to the consumer segment, it diffuses or spreads across the consumer segment in a relatively predictable manner. And so you can see that this bell curve is broken into 5 different slices. And so the development of that innovation starts off with innovators. The earliest segment of adopters are innovative in their manner of adopting that technology. Then if it can move through the innovators, then it will move into early adopters who are still forward thinking. But if it can get through these first 2 categories, it crosses over what's called this tipping point and spreads into a significant, an absolutely enormous segment of the consumer population that is the early majority. When it crosses that tipping point, the technology rarely can then be slowed down. It's going to continue to diffuse or spread very predictably through the rest of its development into the late majority until really it's only the laggards who still remain at 16% of the consumer population. And so I just wanted to use this as an explanation to give us an idea of where are clear aligners right now. And if we look at this curve, we can see a few different things. So the first thing I'll point out in here is this star right here. Clear aligners are currently in North America at about a 25% market penetration. So that means in the orthodontic community, for every 100 patients that start orthodontics, about 25 of those 100 are being put into clear aligners. And that's an enormous growth from where it was just a few years ago. And so if we think about where 25% is on this curve, it's right about here where this star is. Right, so the clear aligner segment has already left the innovator and early adopter categories. It has crossed over the tipping point and is now diffusing very quickly through the everyday consumer population. You'll see many people being treated with Invisalign. It's become a more common brand. Certainly if there's a clear aligner option out there, Invisalign is the brand that people recognize as well as the doctors. But it's really at a place now where it's unlikely to stop the momentum that's already begun. And it's only going to spread more and more quickly as it continues to move across the early majority and then eventually hits another huge category of 34% of consumers that would then be the late majority. Right? So that momentum is started and going to continue moving forward. Now I put 2 other marks in here with these arrows because the orthodontic category really breaks into 2 segments. You have adult patients and you have adolescent or teen patients. Right? So we want to look at those as 2 separate buckets of clear aligner diffusion as well. So when we think about the adult category, it's diffused much more broadly than the teen category because honestly, when aligners first became a relative orthodontic appliance, it was really being addressed to the adult category first. And so that's this area over here. Beyond 50% of adults are being treated with aligners versus braces. So the majority of adult patients are being treated with things like Invisalign. The minority are now being treated with braces, and that's only spreading more and more rapidly. So the teen segment being a little bit newer as a category of partnership between aligners and teenagers, is right here, the other arrow. It's at about 15, 16, 17%, somewhere in the mid-teens currently. And that's about a 10% increase over where it was in 2010. It was at about 6% at that time. So it's moving very rapidly. And now that it's crossed that tipping point and it's entering into the early majority, it's going to diffuse rapidly, just like the adult category has already. Right? So again, the momentum is building very strongly, and that's why we put these modules together, is to make sure that our clients see the opportunity to be a market leader, knowing that that's the direction that a consumer is trending anyway. We want to be within the minds of the purchasing consumer. We want to be ahead of the pattern of change rather than reacting to change and leaving ourselves behind our competition. So with those thoughts in mind, I'm taking you here into the Practice Growth platform, and this is going to be just a little tutorial or a walkthrough of the areas that are going to help you to incorporate and develop these Invisalign growth strategies into your orthodontic business. So if I go into the curriculum section here, which you should be familiar because that's where this video is likely embedded right now, and I'm going to open up the Invisalign growth program. And a few categories that I'll just kind of give you an idea. Now, there's a lot of things in here. Some of them are just kind of little suggestions or tricks of the trade or some new concepts that are developing. And we're always changing and adding to this because it is such a rapidly changing aspect of orthodontics. But a few of the places that I'd have you jump into, first off, is this telephone scripting and patient recommendation and patient preparation. If you want to build Invisalign proactively into your business, you need to help educate your consumers, your would-be patients, prior to their visit to your practice. If the first time they hear the idea of Invisalign or the first time they feel like they're getting an education about Invisalign is when they're in your practice, it only stunts the opportunity to get a same-day start and to commit them towards an Invisalign option for care. So the telephone scripting and some ideas in there will help to prepare that patient for their visit and help them to prepare about the awareness of both your traditional options as well as your Invisalign options. All right, second area I'd have you take a look at, and this is really the biggest section where you'll really work to implement ideas, and that's in the new patient exam room floor. We've got 8 sections in here, and they go anywhere from just kind of building the idea of why Invisalign, what's the value, what are the benefits that we can get from Invisalign being part of our practice. So obviously I already mentioned, that the consumers are going there, but it's building a reputation. It's creating a brand that associates your business to the growing idea of aligners. There's ideas in here that Invisalign and an incorporation of that strategy will grow your referral patterns as well. It certainly will. It'll grow your reputation within your GP referral channels as well. And then also adds to the efficiency of your business. I think we can all agree that Invisalign appointments tend to go much more smoothly and are more infrequent for the consumer to have to be in your practice for routine care. Right? So there's some value building in there. And then we get into some of the real principles of prescribing Invisalign to your patients rather than just discussing it, rather than simply making it an option, is looking for the opportunities to prescribe. And that's going to be based on certain patient types that are going to give you the greatest advantage in making that prescription as a recommendation to the patient. It's not to say that Invisalign is not capable of many, many great success stories with many patient types, but this is going to be really low-hanging fruit where you can build it in most effectively right out of the gate. All right, so then there's also areas in here building it around the lifestyle. This is such an important concept, is as we prescribe, is prescribing it into that unique patient's lifestyle so it makes sense to them. And then finally down here, some sections that are going to be about objection handling and talking to moms and talking to dads and talking to the patients and just getting things out of the way that would be normal causes for concern that honestly aren't that concerning if we just help to overcome those objections. And so there's going to be some great objection handling language in here that I think is going to help your treatment coordinators and help your doctor just to deliver the prescription of Invisalign very effectively. So again, you can grow organically around the platform. And then the third area that I'd have you jump into and review is this area here with empowering the chairside assistant. All right, there's so many things that when your chairside assistant is well educated and prepared, they can do so much in that chairside capacity to help make the appointment an experience that the patient truly enjoys, but also an efficient visit so the doctor's time is well used, and a growth mechanism to see if we can turn one patient into multiple patients through friends and family. So I'd encourage you to go through the 6 parts of this. There's a lot in there, but honestly, as you get to kind of putting it into place and getting used to it, I think you're going to find that it's actually very easy to develop within your practice routine. So I hope you enjoy this whole section on the Invisalign growth program. Good luck.